Today's live stream. Let's get this show started. Alrighty, thank you Rogers Refood for sponsoring this channel. Appreciate it. This is a type of frozen food you can give to your fish where they will go to eat it on a single spot. It's not blowing around in the tank where it can land in the rocks or go down the drain. Coral Magazine, the magazine that I have been running now for, well, I've just completed my 13th issue, and I just had Matt make me this amazing graphic that shows you all the different covers of the magazines I was in charge of. I was the boss. So if you are not a subscriber, please use coralmagazine.com/Milev23 and let me save you a couple of bucks. And just so you know, the price is going up. They haven't announced it, but they're going to announce it, and it's coming. And, you know, if you want to wait, it's 10 bucks more. If you want to save money, do it right now. So anyway, I would highly recommend that you get this magazine because if you have an aquarium, you should be reading Coral Magazine. I offer one-on-one consultation. If you need help with your aquarium, I will help you for a solid hour on a video chat. You and me. I can answer your questions, analyze what you think is an issue, help you figure out solutions, discover, you know, what's going on with your ICP results that, you know, help clarify it. You know, there's a lot of things I know. And if I don't know it, I'll just tell you I don't know it. I'm not here to you know, I'm here to help. That's all I'm trying to say. So anyway, today's live stream is about babies having babies. And it's remarkable. I just can't even believe it. So you guys know that I've been growing saltwater crocodiles for, actually today is day 80 of the official 3 that hatched from the eggs that I received in the mail. So they were shipped to me. I had to buy an aquarium. I did a video about this with Matt Peterson, I don't know, 6 weeks ago. You guys can watch if you never saw the Mystery Project video. And in that process, I received these eggs. I had to put them in the tank with a lower salinity because that's what you do with breeding fish to save money on salt and whatever. And the first day I had a total of 3 emerge from their eggs. And I was like, okay, so those would be the oldest. It pretty much took about 15, 16 days for all of them to hatch from all of their individual eggs and ended up with a total of 59. So a few days ago, I'm looking in my tank and I'm like, what's that? That's weird. There's like these little tiny round balls on the bottom of the aquarium that were white. As if, you know, when you take a sheet of styrofoam and you break it into pieces and they blow around and they get in your carpet. I was like, white styrofoam balls are in here? That's so strange. Where did these come from? How did they get in here? It made no sense. So anyway, I got some pictures to show you. So here are what the crocodiles look like as of October 21st. So that picture is 4 days old. And you can kind of see, you know, they're just silver, almost see-through looking fish. You can kind of see their lungs, I guess, and, you know, their abdomen. But, you know, not much color. But I do have a nice picture here to show you of a close-up of them, of 2 of them. And I'm starting to see yellow appearing on the tail. So, cool, right? And then, depending where they are under the light, there's like a blue streak that goes across the spine. I can't tell if that blue streak is part of the fish. I kind of feel like it's not. I think it's reflective. And as, just to emphasize again, I don't know what these are. I was shipped these eggs for fun, for a new project, to try something, because I have 0 breeding experience, and I wanted to just kind of do something different. And the idea was I would raise these, and I would at some point recognize them and say, oh, that's what these are. I still can't tell what they are yet. I've asked everyone, please don't tell me what it is. Let me determine this on my own. Don't spoil the surprise. If it ends up getting surprised, spoiled, whatever. I'm not going to stop doing YouTube, but I will be very disappointed in that individual. So, yeah. So, I'm aware of these little orbs on the bottom of the tank. I thought they were strange. And I tried to look, you know, with my eye. And, yeah, I was like, I think that's, I'm not really sure. But then the next day, oh, here's another picture of some more of them. The next day, I thought, well, it was late. I hadn't done a water change on this tank in a while. Actually, it was a problem, and I think I'd mentioned on this stream for a couple of weeks how I needed to make salt water, how I was going to make salt water. I finally made the salt water and got it to the right salinity to where I could use it. In the meantime, this tank behind me was just quietly getting worse. It was just getting dirtier, and I didn't have new water to put in there. I mean, I could have just mixed up a bucket of salt water and called it a day, but I didn't. I was wanting to make my big batch like I always do. I'm a creature of habit, and I kind of like things to be a certain way. And so when I was looking at the tank and how filthy it was, and I was looking at my brine shrimp supply that I've been growing out, I didn't really feel like they were ready yet. I started a batch a little bit too late. I grabbed some very fine fish food pellet, and I put a few in the tank, and the fish kind of swam toward it, and like, what is this? And I was like, yeah, I don't blame you. So then I smashed the grains in my fingers to make them more dust-like, and got the dust into the water column. And as I'm doing this, I am shocked to see a little tiny black fish, a baby one, swim past my fingertips. Now, I have not seen tiny ones since the first 15 days of this project. And today is day 80. I should not see babies in my tank whatsoever. So now I'm starting to correlate little tiny brand new fish, weird orbs on the bottom of the tank that came out of nowhere. I'm like, are these babies making babies? So here is a picture of what looks to me like a little egg mass right there in the silicone bead. And you can kind of see what appears to be eyes looking at me, and then in the background it's blurry. You can see some of those white orbs. So immediately I call up Matt. It's 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, Matt, you won't believe this. I have baby fish in my 10-gallon aquarium that came out of nowhere. And he kind of laughed and he said, yeah. And I was like, that's insane. They're still babies. How can they be having babies? And he said, actually, I got a phone call from the guy that, phone call, text, whatever. He got notified from the guy that mailed me the eggs saying, hey, Mark should be aware they're about to start casting eggs again. And he hadn't told me yet. So Matt knew that this was coming. He thought it was a little bit strange to be getting this weird message. And then I'm showing him on FaceTime or on Messenger. No, actually, I was sending video clips and shipping them to him through Messenger. And I was like, look, do you see that little tiny black comma going across the surface of the water? He's like, I do. And then I tried to show him the eggs, and the pictures were terrible because my iPhone was not picking it up. The water was dirty. The glass was filthy. I mean, it was just impossible. So that is a Nikon picture. Then I went ahead and I took, somebody says no sound, and I see sound working. Let's see what happens here. Hopefully it's just a local problem for Alvin, and I haven't been just talking for 7 minutes with no audio. Let me see. You're the first person to say there's no sound, so I think we're okay. So then this is another picture. Now you can see the egg mass, and there is a white one. Now, according to Matt, a white egg could be a dead egg. It didn't make it. But the clear eggs are definitely fish. So that's pretty awesome. All right, so now I've got 80-day-old fish. I've got 79-day-old fish. I've got 65-day-old fish. And now I've got baby little fish that are, a few days old. And I thought, okay, that's really cool. I don't know. Yeah, I don't have... Thank you, guys. I didn't add this picture, so let me throw it on the screen really quick. Give me a second to get on my phone. I did take a picture of the little blackfish. So let me talk about the water change. Now that I've got fish on the bottom, fish at the surface, eggs on the bottom, in here, there, and everywhere, because they don't have a good spot to lay their eggs or to place their eggs. I don't know what you call it. When fish, they lay eggs, right? I mean, they lay a clutch of eggs. That's what I've always heard. I think that's the right terminology. But now I'm thinking chickens lay eggs. I don't know. So much for a breeder. I'm so bad. Anyway, I'm doing the water change, and I'm being super careful not to harm the eggs. I'd already taken a magic eraser, wrapped it around one of those Kent scrapers, and I did all the walls to push all the gunk down to the bottom. Now I have all of this shrapnel on the bottom of the tank, and the eggs are in that stuff too. And I've got a very small gravel vac that's about this wide and about this tall on a section of tubing that's maybe 3/8 tubing, so you don't pull out a lot of water rapidly. It's only a 10-gallon aquarium. And I'm siphoning, and I'm trying to be very careful, and then I get to the little patch of eggs, and I kind of tried to grab, I can't remember how I did it. I feel like I used my fingertips, kind of carefully picked them up, and I put them in the cutest little bowl. So give me a second here, because I did not grab these before the show. But I'm going to show you a couple of things here. So we're going to fling some things on the screen here. Okay, here they come. So let me get you this picture instead. First of all, I got to show you the bowl. It's really important. Is it this one? Okay, here's the bowl. I have had these ice cream bowls that that I bought for my son a zillion years ago, and in these bowls the bowl looks like an ice cream cone, and then the spoon, the handle looks like an ice cream cone, and then the part that's round that you shove in your mouth is the same color as the bowl. So I have 4 different color bowls, and I got 4 different matching spoons. But I grabbed the bowl really quick out of the cabinet that's been sitting there for decades. And I went to put these eggs somewhere. So here are the eggs that I grabbed out of the tank. And in this picture, you'll see my fingertip as well. Let me shrink this down a little bit so you can see. And there is this little tiny itty bitty little fish, right? That little guy right there. I have 5 of those little guys. And this is what it looked like on the first couple of weeks. I'd see these little guys at the surface. And I had to grow 24-hour baby brine shrimp because the food had to be nutritious and it had to be tiny to fit into their tiny mouths so they could continue to grow. And if I were to put in older brine shrimp that are 2 or 3 days old, the fish would swim up to it, it would be too big, and it would swim past it, expending energy, it would not eat, it would end up dying. Instead, I did a good job, and I raised all of my fish. I didn't, as far as I know, I didn't lose any. I mean, it's really hard to count. I've tried to even take pictures, but there's reflections off the glass, and I don't know that I'll ever be able to prove that I have 59 of these fish, plus 5 that are brand new, and these eggs are going to produce more and more. So anyway, I've got these eggs in a bowl. And one more picture to show you. I mean, you can also see in this picture, not only is it eggs and the fish, but there's also algae and gunk, you know, because they were using it like a nest, for lack of a better term. So then, I'm carefully looking at my water that I've siphoned out. All my fish have been avoiding the tube, the gravel vac thing I'm using. And I have also been, a couple of times the fish would get into that tube. And I would quickly hold the other end of the tube to stop and let the fish swim back out of the gravel vac part. And then I would continue cleaning. And there was a lot of stuff kicked up. And I was trying to siphon as much as I could. I probably did 3 to 4 gallon water change on a 10-gallon tank, finally, and which was very important. But I think part of now, you know, I could be wrong, and because I don't have the knowledge about I don't know what this fish is, I can't like go do research and find out my answers. I'm just completely learning on the fly with some advice from Matt in my ear from time to time, and he just kind of laughs and chuckles because he says, you know, just enjoy the ride. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm just enjoying the experience, and I'm sharing my experience with you as I'm learning more. So when I finally do know what these fish are, of course I'm going to tell you what they are. And we've been just calling them saltwater crocodiles as, you know, a humorous way to call them something besides it and they. Now, I'm looking through my dirty saltwater very, very carefully, and I found another one of those little tiny fish, the little black fish. So I tried to use my fingers, you know, to like put a little palm underneath, and it swam away. I was like, okay. And I tried this for like a minute. I was like, this is pointless. So I grabbed my bowl and I submerged it into the water and caught my little guy because, you know, suction drew the liquid in, and I got him and I retrieved him. But then I'm looking at the soupy water, and it was really bad. It was really disgusting, and it was very opaque. And I'm staring and staring and staring, and then I see something different. And I'm like, is that a hair? Is it swimming? And I'm just like, I'm intrigued by what I'm seeing, and I'm like, I think that's a brand new hatched fish. These fish, the ones that you're seeing right there, that's a few days old. This thing is not that color at all. It is tan. It's see-through-ish. It's microscopically small, and I'm like, I must retrieve it. And so I captured it in my little bowl again. I've put the eggs back in the aquarium. I got rid of the blackfish. Now I got an empty bowl, and I went after this little speck of dust that was swimming across the surface of my soupy water for my water change water. And this is what I saw. So I'm going to show you a close. I'm going to take myself off screen so you really see it. That right there is a 3 millimeter long fish fry that is minutes old. It just emerged from its egg, and those little orbs you're seeing that are around it, those are not fish eggs. Those are baby brine shrimp eggs that, crack open and you get a baby brine shrimp from. Now you can see and think about that egg, when it opens up and, the cyst opens up and the baby brine shrimp comes out, it's smaller than the egg itself, right? That's how you can tell how that would fit into the mouth of such a tiny, itty bitty little brand new fish. It's crazy, and you can see the beautiful eyes. So let me describe how I took this picture because it's kind of insane. I have this little guy in a bowl on the floor in my office here on top of a towel. And then I take my iPhone and I leaned it against the little cup bowl thing you saw. And I turned on the flashlight to put light inside the bowl so it'd be well lit. And then I'm using my Nikon with my 105 millimeter macro lens, and I'm trying to get a photograph of this speck of dust. This tiny thing. I mean, most people say put it on a microscope, but I did not. It was a swimming animal. So I had probably about a half an inch of water there or so, maybe 3/4 of an inch. And as the fish constantly moved, it would swim out of focus and back into focus. It would swim out of the frame and come back into the frame. And I just kept trying to chase it. I took like 15 pictures to get this one winning photograph. And I was blown away. As soon as I saw it, I was like, nailed it. I was so proud of myself. This was probably the most difficult picture I've taken in my life. And to think that I did it on my knees in my office over a puddle of water in a bowl, it's just insane. But so that little guy, you can see the eyes, you can see the specks on its body, you can see, the form is clear. It hasn't developed the pigments it's going to have like you saw in those older ones. And I'll go back to that picture one more time. There's a red dot, and I think maybe that red dot in the midsection there might be the heart, because that red dot was in multiple pictures, as I kept trying to get this fish, completely photographed. So it's definitely an internal organ, but is it a heart? I don't know, but I think maybe it is, which is really, really cool. So the guy that mailed me the eggs, I sent him this picture and he does thumbs up. I'm like, oh. It's like, I mean, I know he's not supposed to reveal what this is. He's even told me, Mark, if you looked up my name and you saw the kind of fish I liked, you could identify what this thing is. I'm like, I'm trying really hard not to just go Google it or tell ChatGPT to figure it out. I just want to, look at it and say, oh my God, I know what that is. That is, or maybe I won't, and I'll have to say, someone tell me later, not now. But according to Matt, because I'm just starting to see colors on the fish that are roughly, let's call between 70 and 80 days old, I'm guessing in the next 20 to 30 days, I should finally see the full coloration and hopefully give me the characteristics of what this thing is, to where I can say, ta-da, it is this. But I don't know yet. So I'm very excited. Now I'm even more. And see, I was kind of thinking, oh, soon I can stop making baby brine shrimp, because now I can start putting them on flake food or pellet food because they're bigger, they're older. But not if I have a bunch of babies at the surface again. I got to go right back through it again. So I will continue to be hatching brine shrimp every single day to feed this aquarium behind me and keep those guys satiated. But it's been a really interesting ride so far. And by the way, no, I already said that. The guy that sent me the eggs, he told Matt, to let me know these are absolutely going to do this at this point. They didn't have them prematurely. They're not too early, which is actually a clue, because that gives me an indication that this is a species that will self-propagate to maintain their numbers. So will they do another batch of eggs in 60 days? Will they do another batch of eggs in 2 weeks? I don't know. the frequency yet. I don't know that. But the fact that they did it so early in their life, because they're not even fully developed, fully colorful fish yet. I mean, some clownfish have to be 3 to 5 years old before they lay eggs. These guys, the maximum oldest ones, the 3 oldest are 80 days old. That's really young. I have a feeling, you know, I don't have any facts yet because I don't know the species, but I think these are fish that live about 2 years. The guy that mailed me the eggs said that he thought these could be great refugium fish. I don't know that I agree because I don't know anything yet, and I told him that. But wouldn't it be neat to have little tiny fish swimming around in your refugium? Now, if they're consuming all of your pods, that's not beneficial. But if you're running a refugium for looks and you're wanting to grow macroalgae, but you don't care about the pod population, having these fish in there and feeding the refugium could give you another type of biotope as part of your entire ecosystem. That could be very, very interesting. So yeah, that's the latest. That's all this show is about today because, wow, I'm just like, this is nuts. Okay, so yesterday, I'm switching topics now. The little Blenny in the 1 gallon tank that's right here. He's been in there now for, I don't know, probably a year. And that is a tank that I have to stay on top of because it gets really filthy pretty rapidly because I'm feeding a single barnacle blenny. I did take a picture of it. See, guys, I think of these things after I'm on camera. I'm like, oh yeah, should have thrown that on here too. I took this picture to show you guys because we never ever see the whole blenny. I keep showing you the head, the face. But I've got this one photograph of it from above. It's not a good picture, okay? I'll tell you up front. I mean, it's not good lighting. It's just, it is what it is. So here is, where did it go? I'm gonna just, let me jump to, I'll just throw it on top of me. How about that? So here is that barnacle blenny. And you can, you know, it's not super colorful because I'm using white light on this tank, but you can see the red spots around his head. I sent this picture to Felicia McCauley, who works at Biota, and Biota is where I bought this fish from, and she says, oh my God, what are you feeding that fish? And I said, I feed it frozen food every single night from the concoction I make of all the different brands that I stir up and then I squirt it into all my tanks, and I give this tank, this 1 gallon tank, 1 pipette full of frozen fare every night, and this fish eats like a lionfish does. You know, when a lionfish chomps down, you know, it goes chomp, and the food's gone, like just like a magic act. That's what this fish does. So anyway, you're getting to see the entire body there, which I thought was kind of cool because, like I said, we never see that. And yeah, it's doing really well. So anyway, I talked to Till. Till is the guy that wrote the article about the barnacle blenny down in Bocas Mariculture. And when I was working on the article, which it's up on the wall back there, by the way, when that article dropped, and as the magazine was about to arrive in my mailbox, or once I got the magazine and had it in my hand, I saw an ad for Biota, and I added to cart immediately. It's like, this is the actual initial fish that came to America from, you know, that were captive bred, which I was super excited about. You know, it's one thing to grab a fish from the ocean, which, you know, happens, obviously. How do you think we had this hobby in the first place? But now we have more and more captive bred fish, and I really like buying captive bred whenever I can. If there's a choice to do it, I choose to do it. So anyway, I got that fish, and I didn't really have somewhere to put it, and then, you know, I ended up getting that Smalden 1 gallon tank, and I put it in there, and I thought, well, it can't be in there very long because that's just craziness. It's only 1 gallon of water. But it has filtration in the back. It's got a light over it, a heater, a small return pump. But it's a tank that needs TLC every single month. And by monthly, I mean monthly I have to remove the return pump and clean all the sludge that's off of it. And I have to change the little filter pad in the back weekly. I put in ChemiPure Blue. I get these little packs right here. They come from well, you can buy them anywhere, but I get them from saltwaterfish.com. And so I ordered like 10, right? Because I need 10 of them for like 10 months. Okay. So here is your little packet. and this has some carbon in it and some other stuff, and it just makes your water pretty. So anyway, you rinse this, and that's what I'll do today. I'll rinse it under the sink just to make sure it runs clear, and then I'll stick it in the little filter in the back, and it's good for a month. So that is, the only filtration is changing the pad, changing that packet, and doing water changes. When I do a water change on that tank, I actually do 3 back-to-back water changes. I drain the tank down to about this far from the bottom. I scrape all the walls because now I put my hand in without making it overflow. I scrape it nice and clean. I take a toothbrush to all the seams and to the little teeth in the back where the water flows through the back wall because I want it to be nice and tidy and make sure the water flows through and doesn't clog up, right? And then I fill it up with water. The tank turns into a snow globe of BS. I vacuum all that out again down to here again. Pour in more water. It makes another cloud. I siphon that all out, and I fill it for the 3rd time, and then I turn the filtration back on, and now the tank's nice and clear. But the reason this tank is getting so dirty is because I'm putting in a pipette of frozen food every single day for that fish. And since it's really the only thing living in there, I mean, there's a couple of snails, there's a hermit crab, and there's probably a micro brittle starfish in there, or 2. But and there's a big fat bristleworm I've noticed. But it's too much food, and having a fish in there is actually too much of a bioload for that aquarium, in my opinion. So I'd rather remove the blenny and put it in a different tank, like the office tank right back there. And I sent a picture of it to Till and said, what about moving this blenny to a different tank? I have this tank behind me that has a lot of rock/flower anemones, which are super sticky and can definitely snarf up a fish. The other choice would be to put in Caitlin's Reef, where I have a pistol shrimp and I have those pitho crabs, and I don't know if any of those invertebrates are going to be too aggressive and destroy and devour my little blenny. And Till says, no, absolutely, put it in your office tank, and it'll be totally fine with the rock anemones. I have them inside community tanks with those type and have had no issues. So, yeah, I would like to do that. I'm a little nervous about doing it, but I really would. Because if I can get that blenny out of that little 1-gallon tank, I could put something else in there. I could put in, for example, some, what we used to call acans, micromucil. I could put some of those in there. I could change the white light to a blue light, and I could put in some pellet food once a week, and I bet that water will stay way more pristine for a longer period and not be just such a tank that needs so much babysitting. And because I need less to do, not more. This tank behind me that the light hasn't turned on quite yet. It's probably going to turn on in, I don't know, 20 minutes or so. With the saltwater crocodiles, that's a new project, plus the brine shrimp, so I got that. And I went through all my tanks, and I did all my cleaning. So I had all this work to do for the latest Coral magazine. Look, you can see more of the covers now. Here, let me get rid of that blenny. I want you guys you'll notice something in the upper right corner there. 2 more magazines are up on the wall, and 1 more is on the way. So when the when the latest one shows up, I'll frame it. And by the way, down here on the floor is a box. That is more picture frames that just showed up. Another set of 6 frames showed up. And then I'll put it up there with the other 2, and there'll be 3 on that wall. So, yeah, issue number 13 is going up. But what was I trying to say? Oh, so as I've been, trying to do different things, I went through and I finished up Coral magazine, got it to press, immediately got into that huge acrylic project to where I could not do a live stream last Saturday. I was just too slammed. And I worked on that thing like crazy. It was a lot of days. I spent a full week or so just building. And I ended up making everything, but I didn't have a big reveal to show you guys what it was in the end. And the reason being is that when I talked to the customer, I said, listen, I'm at the point now where I need to know what you want me to do. I can peel off all the paper, and then we have to wrap it really carefully when you transport it to its final destination. And he says, don't do that. I said, do you want me to do any kind of edge prep where the 2 halves touch? Because that's still, milled acrylic, but it's not polished, it's not flame polished, it's not rounded over. He goes, nope, just leave that. I said, okay, well, there's shavings all over. He goes, just leave it. It's like, don't do anything. Because where it's going, the facility has a very specific protocol for cleaning, And this thing has to come in, this project, these units I built, will be fully sterilized before they go into the building. And I was like, well, once they're sterilized and gorgeous, can you please take a few pictures to show me? And he's like, I don't think they're going to do that. I was like, well, I mean, before it goes in, like, where it's in front of a wall and you don't know where this is. Can we do that? And he said, I don't know, maybe. So anyway, I didn't get to show you guys the final of what it was I made, but I do have a couple of pictures, because I always take pictures on my phone, of it not finished. I would have loved to have had a picture to show you the naked final version, but I do not. But here is the group of them in front of my building. Is it sending? There we go. Richard, you just got here? Ah, you blew it. Okay, so here is what I built. And you're looking at acrylic boxes that are basically, you could kind of compare them to like a trophy case you'd put over a trophy, or a cake cover, you put it over the cake, but there's these giant holes. And each one had specific holes in very specific places because of the plumbing that goes to the pumps that go inside these. It's not designed to encase them like in liquid or anything. It's protecting the pumps from any kind of damage. And it's mainly being cocooned by my acrylic work to lower the sound of the pumps, is what I was told. I don't know if that's going to work or not, but you can see the crazy cutouts I had to do, including that one in the background there on the left. That's where a pump is going to be half in the box, half out of the box, and it had to fit around this thing that I designed from my imagination, from their scribbles on the wooden boxes there on the very absolute left, and from one graphic that was emailed me that had no specs. And so I just used all of the knowledge I could acquire to come up with dimensional sizes to make that crazy shape. Now what you're looking at is two halves that code together. Instead of it just being a solid box, you would just lower it down over the pump, because there's things up high and down low. And I told him, how on earth would you disconnect or reconnect any kind of fittings if this was a completely five-sided box? And he says, no, you need to cut them in half. Well, I knew that I would not be able to build and lift these. They'd be too heavy because they're all made of half-inch acrylic. And I also knew that I would not be able to cut them in half cleanly where it'd be precise. It would be more like I took a skill saw to it. Even with a guide, it would not have been true. It would have been kind of craptastic, and a lot of things can go wrong when you're trying to do something like that. So I actually made 8 halves. And, there's the A set, there's the B set, there's the C set, and there's the D set. So anyway, when he showed up, I was able to interlock them, which was kind of interesting, to get them moved into his truck. They were very heavy, by the way. He lifted the big ones, I lifted the smaller ones. My back was pretty much fed up after this project. And here is the thing in the back of the truck. So that's actually one. You can see there's letters in each one, B, D, A, and C, but B is both halves pushed together. And you took one and turned it upside down. It's sort of like reversing Legos or something. I don't know. It just went together in the truck. It was nice. I was worried they'd have to stand. I was worried about them rubbing. Instead, he had this really nice strap system built into the bed of the truck, and we tied it down, and he took them away, and that was the end of that. So if I end up getting a final picture of them or one in operation, I'll definitely share it with you guys. I'd love to show it to you. But it's a great project. And the crazy thing is, because it's an expensive project, he said if anything's wrong with any of these, if any of these are off and I need you to make a correction, I'll just buy another one and you'll make that one corrected. Because I said there's no way I can change those holes or even put it back on the CNC, because now they're three-dimensional. Even as halves, they're too tall for the gantry of the CNC router to move back and forth. There's no way to cut it out. So he says, no, you just make a new of that piece. I'm like, all right. So it's good that I saved all the files, and we'll see how it all ends up. But in the meantime, I finished that project. And then the next day, I went and cleaned all my aquariums. I cleaned the 1 gallon, and the 20 gallon, and the 10 gallon, and the 27 gallon, and the 400 gallon, and even inside the frag system. I mean, I had to work on all these tanks because today, in about an hour or so, a guy named Danilo what's his last name? Raunchy? I think that's right. He writes articles for Coral Magazine. I'm going to double check here really quick because his name is eluding me. Yeah, Danilo Raunchy. He's from Italy, and he's here in Fort Worth, and he's coming to see my tanks. I'm like, oh, great. My reef's not even beautiful right now. It's like, but maybe he'll think it's pretty. I don't know. But he's coming over today. He does the aquarium portraits that appear in Corale in Germany, and a lot of times those aquarium portraits end up in Coral Magazine, and he is the one that writes these stories, and he runs a website, and he does this. He travels, and he takes pictures of aquariums. What a job. Why don't I have that job? But that's his job. So he's going to come over to see me today, which will be really neat because I've been working on and off with him over the last couple of years, and now I get to meet him in person, and we get to chat, and it'll be fun. So I'm excited about that. But yeah. So that's kind of the latest what's happened in the last week. It's just been work. I haven't had a day off in forever. And even today, I don't get to take the day off. I need to organize the next issue of Coral Magazine and get all the the starter stories lined up, and make sure where it's all going to fit, see what's lacking, start determining other things. And so that process will happen today and tomorrow. And also, I've got a pile of paperwork over here to my left. Nope, that's my right. To my right that you can't see, but it is for my CPA, and I've got to get that all sifted and ready to mail to him on Monday. Yeah, so that's the latest. And now you're fully up to date. Richard, I know you showed up late, so I will just do you a solid here because I'm a nice guy, and I'll show you. This is the baby that I took a picture of. And it is 3 millimeters in size, and those little tiny eggs are the eggs we use to grow baby brine shrimp. So those are unhatched eggs. Those are Artemia cysts. And this little guy was minutes old when I took his photograph, and I'm super proud of that photograph. So that's that. All right, well, I don't know if anyone's done any questions yet, but let's go ahead and jump to our Q&A. Let's see. And we have Andrea's comment from last time that was still there because I think it's funny. Dwitster says, swim bladders, not lungs, unless they are lungfish. Yeah, you're probably right. I just assumed they have to breathe something. I thought they'd have lungs. I don't. I'm a coral guy. I'm learning about it. But, oh, by the way, I get to brag about something, even though it's a very minor brag. Because I raised my eggs all the way to fish, and then the fish laid new eggs, and the eggs hatched and made baby fish, I am officially a breeder now. That's what I've been told. And I was also told, don't get too excited. That's a Class A breeder. I'm like, okay, that sounds great. He says Class A means easy. I was like, well, what's the hardest? He says D. You got A, B, C, D. I was like, all right, well, I'm going to take it as a win. I mean, that's fine. So I have actually now officially bred a fish. I've completed the circle, which is pretty awesome. Pretty exciting. Okay. Alex says, have you heard of the bolus dosing method? What is your opinion on it? Actually, I think it's more than dosing, but yeah. Did you get this issue yet, Alex? This is the one that we actually did a full story on the bolus method, and it is on page 96. This is the last issue of Coral Magazine. This is the September-October 2025 issue. And here is the 2-page spread. So if you'd like to learn more about it and why it's different than other 2-part dosing, that is the full information written by Claude Schumacher of Fauna Marin, I believe. Yes, that is correct. I said everything correct. So it's more than just dosing. It's also you have to change your light cycle to a very specific thing. I mean, you basically have to put your lights on full blast at the beginning of the day. And you have to dose all of your alkalinity, I think, in the first 30 minutes or something. That's why the story's there, so you can read it and get all the details. But, and of course, there's a PDF on Fauna Marin's website where it tells you the recipe of what to do. You asked me what my opinion is. I think it's interesting. I think it's something new that I haven't heard anyone do. Fauna Marin is doing it in their own aquaculture facility, and they said it's working really well for them. I talked to Reef Bum. What's his real name? Ken? No, that's not right, is it? Well, the guy that goes by Reef Bum on YouTube and everywhere, he did the bolus method for a while. And then when I reached out to him when we were doing the story, because I was hoping to get like a sidebar, which means a little half-page thing with an opinion about, this topic. And he said he had stopped. So actually, if you're trying to get more information, maybe talk to Reef Bum and ask him what he thought, and he'll get you more one-on-one information specifically. But I think that, he's been doing this hobby for a long time, at least 20 years, like myself. So, one of the things that's hard for us old wizards is that we are trying, we're used to things working a certain way. And then somebody says, hey, have you tried this? And I'm like, no, I haven't. All right, tell me more about it. And then you hear about it, like, maybe I'll try it. And then you're like, does this really change my life? Can I just go back to what I did before because it was working? And I think that kind of is what happened with him. So anyway, I would just say it's definitely different. You might see really interesting results if you're following the recipe carefully. And, I don't think it's detrimental. I don't think that everything's going to go wrong if you suddenly said, I'm changing my mind, I'm not going to do it after all, just like he stopped. Video Watcher says, I was wondering if I could live in one of your sumps like a little crab. I don't think you'd like it in there very much, but that's an interesting question. Let's see. Mashsia says, your aquarium is a porthole into another universe. It is funny how we see things that are completely different. Oh, by the way, this was a weird one. I took a picture yesterday. I have this finger gorgonian that I got from the Long Island Aquarium. And I'm looking at it yesterday, and the thing stands about 2.5 feet tall, right? And there's this bubble, almost that big around, right on the side. Sort of like a bounce mushroom. It was a bounce on the side of a gorgonian. I was like, what is that bubble? That's really weird. So I took a picture of it. And then I wanted to take a picture through the side glass, which would have been much closer to the bubble. But the problem is that the glass was dirty. So I grabbed my cleaning magnet, and I'm just cleaning the glass. And while cleaning the glass, well, something weird happened with this live stream. So earlier today, the live stream abruptly ended, like the internet went out or something, had a little glitch, couldn't get anything to work on my computer. Well, something weird happened with this one. And then I turned around and I started another stream. And then I noticed that the first stream was missing from my YouTube channel, and I was like, well, where is it? And it says on YouTube it's still live all these hours later, even though it's just frozen where it got stuck. So I went ahead and opened my streaming software again, and boom, there was an option at the bottom of the screen that says resume. Who knew that existed? I've never had that happen before. So I just wanted to say thank you for tuning in today. Since I ended the show, I have hung out with someone who was visiting here from Italy, who writes articles for Coral Magazine and Corale about aquarium portraits. His name is Danilo, and we got to hang out and look at my tank and kind of see everything, and I gave him a few copies of his articles in the printed copies of Coral Magazine, and now he's on his way to the stockyards to go check out things like rodeo, the things you do when you're in Texas. And in the meantime, I'm just going to go ahead and end this thing, so hopefully the video will publish so other people can watch what we talked about earlier today. I hope you have a great night, and I'll see you guys again in a week.